Well, a lot of time looking through documents and body cam video and all kinds of things to really figure out what exactly police were doing in order to do this predictive policing stuff, because it wasn't obvious. And then once they revealed it, it still took 4 years to get to this resolution. So, kudos to the Tampa Bay Times and the reporters there for unearthing this. And shame on the police department for taking so long to own up to something that's obviously crossing a line. And even within the stories, people were quoted as saying, the goal was to harass people to the point where they either moved or sued the police department, which seems to be a terrible policy.
Mitch, I was looking at the Pasco County crime records this week, and most of Pasco County is pretty much low crime. I mean, there are a few pockets of high crime, but it's not endemic throughout the whole county.
Yeah, they did resist this. They kind of had a defiant statement about this, but this was like that movie Minority Report. Remember that, the Steven Spielberg movie from like 20 years ago?
But here's a problem I have with what these journalists are talking about. They're almost insinuating that it would be okay if it was a higher crime area. Guys, this is predictive policing. It's an algorithm that's written by someone who's obviously biased in their position. There's a programmer that's behind this, okay? And the programmer is the father or the mother of this child, this algorithmic child. So their inherent biases are built into it from day one. And the child typically becomes like their parent, right? I mean, I was in judo. My father was a Marine. I became a Marine. I'm in judo. My son's in judo. So you give birth to your children, the mother and the father, your biological parents. And typically, if they're good parents and they're a good role model to you, the role model is what the child will follow. If you're a shitty role model, you come from a fatherless home and the mothers are, jerks and criminals, the young boys that are reared up under them are going to be criminals too. And that's their role model. Understand this. So if someone is building a AI program, their biases are going to be built into it. And so that's one of the other problems with AI. It's not neutral. It's based upon someone's opinion, and their inherent political biases go into these programs. And for these journalists to insinuate that, it's almost like they're saying, well, if it was a higher crime area, it might be okay. No, guys, it's never okay to use predictive policing. Has anybody ever learned about our fundamental rights? Does anybody know what the Fourth Amendment stands for? Less government means more freedom, guys. These programs are not going to do anything to help you and I. It's only going to help the politicians who get their stock options, their calls and their puts, and these big corporations that fund their political campaigns, as well as the useful idiots who program these machines, this machine learning. Let's keep listening.
And it was really insidious, and I'm glad it was exposed. And, I came across a tweet last night that Matt Gaetz put out when this trial began, and he basically said that Ron DeSantis should think about firing the chief of police or the sheriff there in Pasco County. I don't think he's going to do that. But, this actually united folks on the left and right and thinking this is pretty outrageous what was going on there.
Yeah, and it was the Institute for Justice, which is kind of a libertarian version of the ACLU that brought the lawsuit against Pasco County.
Absolutely, yeah.
What do you think of this?
Pasco County is ruby red, and the sheriff there is, maybe not quite as beloved as in Polk County, but it's Pasco.
You heard that, right? So it crosses the line between left and right. The left and right paradigm doesn't exist. It's the government versus the people paradigm, right? That's what it really. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree. Again, that's why I am a recovering Democrat. I don't believe that boys can ever be girls and that girls can ever be boys. That's why I homeschool my kids now. And that's why I believe in homesteading and forming parallel systems. So we don't have to be anywhere near people that think like this, guys. And that's why I'm so grateful that you come on my show, because I've been able to form relationships with many of you where now I do business with you. When you guys get in a car accident or a motorcycle accident, you know that I'm your guy, that I'm going to be the one that helps you, and I'm the one that you can trust. Let's keep going.
I always get the P's confused. So you've seen outrage publicly, but I think within the community, the sheriff still has a lot of support. There's a lot of community efforts going on with feeding people during the holidays and things like that, and then other events throughout the year that are high profile, that's what people tend to notice more, unless you're one of those who are targeted, of course. So, I think it should...
Or unless you're someone with a brain who thinks you might be targeted next, right?
Just another one of those situations situations where there doesn't seem to be a political consequence for these types of actions.
We have just 30 seconds, Ray.
I would say, that defiant statement, they said they would never apologize for keeping their community safe, but yet they settled this lawsuit. To your point, they do get a lot of support. Why not just say, in a world where we want to trust police more, why not say, yes, this probably wasn't the best thing for us to do publicly?
Why not have a trustworthy police department? How about that? Catch me outside. What do you guys think? I mean, I'm blown away. I cannot believe that in my country, growing up, being a constitutionalist, knowing what the Bill of Rights, because they don't teach this in public schools anymore, right? Knowing that what really triggered the Revolutionary War was the king tried to seize our powder houses. And now knowing that both parties are going after our Second Amendment rights, trying to strip us of the ability to defend against this, like all totalitarian governments do first, like in China, like what's going on in Europe. I mean, the United Kingdom, their government's flooding their country with jihadis. These people don't even work. They immediately go on welfare. Their wives are walking around wearing hefty bags. You can't even see their faces. And they're committing massive amounts of knife crimes, having their way with the locals, with the citizenry, the people who have been there for thousands of years, generationally. The citizens of those countries, the natives of those countries, are being barbarized by these illegal alien immigrants in their country, and they're not even allowed to say anything about it. And they're using the same predictive policing to arrest these people, even if they say something remotely negative about these newcomers. They call them newcomers. Even if they can prove the RAPE gangs and all the stuff that's going on, they get arrested. They're not allowed to talk about it. They have the crime of insult. With predictive policing tools, all of us are going to be in prison if we speak out against it. And that's the real goal behind all. It's that they call it the great replacement theory, replacing people with high IQs with people with incredibly low IQs who don't even care if they have civil liberties and freedoms because they come from countries where they've been brutalized by their governments already, and they're easily controlled with a free paycheck, welfare benefits, and a free phone. Let's keep going.
Coming China, is that the plan here? Just mass surveillance on everybody? Recently, I was just in China, and some of what I saw was pretty good. Some not so good. Okay, this is where we're headed, except without the nice trains and without the free healthcare. We're talking about the creation of a biometric surveillance state with predictive algorithms. Quote, a new report shines light on contracts with tech company Palantir, which would create data profiles of Americans to surveil and harass them.
We're doing it. We're doing it. And I'm sure you're enjoying this as much as I am. Let's not talk to analysts about the burden of being right, our burdens of investing in ontology, our burdens of actually looking at the math. Palantir is here to disrupt and make the institutions we partner with the very best in the world. And when it's necessary, to scare enemies and on occasion kill them.
Except here, the enemy is literally
it's you.
The American
It's
people.
you.
I
You're
tweeted
the
this out
enemy.
the other day saying that it should be very alarming that the same company that's tracking terrorists abroad is now tracking us at home.
You.
Starting to feel like maybe they think we're the enemy.
You think?
What are your thoughts?
Yeah, what are your thoughts? I want to hear what your thoughts are, guys. I mean, can you believe that I don't have 1,000 people watching this right now? I mean, that tells you about the algorithms, right? Like they do not want this information getting out. So I'm going to challenge all of you, obviously, to share this video with as many people as you can on Twitter, on Reddit, on Facebook, everywhere you can to get this stuff out, because this is a big deal, guys. And by the way, I don't go after people for copyright infringement. Feel free to rip these videos apart, make them into shorts, and share them. Everybody, this is, I think, the most fundamental, most important thing in the history of our country is what's happening right now with government surveillance and what they're trying to do with this big, beautiful bill to basically de facto make it legal to use artificial intelligence to basically predict whether or not they think we're a criminal. And who gets to decide who's the criminal? Well, whoever disagrees with the politicians and their corporate sponsors, that's who the criminal is. That's what's going on right before your very eyes. Now, in the subway system, I believe this is New York, the MTA wants to use AI to flag problematic behavior. They want to use AI to flag problematic behavior. How about this, guys? How about instead of using AI, why don't they start teaching children right from wrong? Why don't they start encouraging civics and civility and teaching critical thinking, teach cursive writing, teach math, reading, writing, and arithmetic like they used to, teach philosophy, and teach the Bill of Rights and the Constitution, teach about the Revolution, teach about the grave injustices that the British put upon our country that we're reverting back to right now with the Bank of England, the privately run Federal Reserve Bank, fractional reserve banking, right? All this fiat currency. Give me a break, guys. If kids really were trained properly, everyone would be a good citizen. But no, instead, they rear up a bunch of blithering idiots with the public school systems. And then, of course, what do? They want to put us in prison. I mean, come on. Give me a break. That's why I encourage all of you to homeschool your kids. All right. Now, city of Los Angeles, same thing.
Coming to a city near you, unless you oppose the big beautiful bill now.